Everything is energy, and you're already controlling it, even if you don't realize it yet. Right now, your brain is processing millions of signals. The sensation of clothes against your skin, background noises, subtle light shifts, all happening unnoticed. Why? Because your brain filters them out to maintain focus. But here's the truth. This same filtering is keeping you stuck. Think about learning something new, maybe a sport or language. First, everything feels awkward. Your movements are stiff, your thoughts scattered. Then with practice, things start flowing naturally. What changed? Your brain rewired itself, creating new pathways. This is where energy control becomes crucial. Most people believe they need more energy to accomplish things, but that's rarely the case. It's about using what you already have more effectively. Imagine driving with a full tank of gas but leaving the parking brake on. The energy is there, just not flowing correctly. By breaking down the barriers between conscious and unconscious processing, you unlock abilities you didn't know existed. This isn't pseudoscience, it's grounded in neuroscience and cognitive psychology. Try this. Close your eyes and focus on your breathing. Notice how some breaths feel deep, others shallow. Some warm, others cool. Don't try to change anything, just observe. After a moment, your breathing naturally shifts. That's your brain releasing unnecessary control patterns. Our minds create countless invisible rules we can learn to bend or break. Consider how a cat lands on its feet or how a baby learns to walk. They don't follow step-by-step instructions. They let their bodies figure it out naturally. As adults, we overthink. We force results instead of letting them happen. We get trapped in rigid patterns that block our full potential. Energy control means spotting these hidden patterns and working with them, not against them. It's like learning to surf instead of fighting the waves. The force is already there, you just need to ride it. Your subconscious functions like a matrix of perception, shaping how you interact with everything around you. Think of your brain as a supercomputer processing millions of information bits every second, but filtering most out to prevent overwhelm. This filtering isn't just helpful. It's essential for survival, but it comes at a hidden cost. Right now, your brain is ignoring the feeling of clothes on your skin, the subtle pressure of the chair beneath you, background sounds, the peripheral edges of your vision, and countless other sensations. It selects what supposedly matters and discards the rest, a filtering system that helped our ancestors survive by focusing on immediate threats and food sources. But in our modern world, this ancient system often filters out the very energy patterns that could transform your life. Let me demonstrate something powerful. Close your eyes for 5 seconds. Really do it now. What did you hear? You likely noticed sounds that were always there. Perhaps a distant conversation, the hum of electronics, your own breathing. Sounds your brain was constantly detecting but didn't bring to your conscious awareness until you intentionally focused. This simple exercise reveals how much information your brain processes but never shows you. This selective attention works like a spotlight in a vast, dark warehouse. Whatever it illuminates becomes crystal clear, while everything else remains shadowed in obscurity. But unlike an actual spotlight, your brain shifts this focus instantly, seamlessly moving between different senses, from sight to sound to touch and back again, creating the illusion of complete awareness when you're actually experiencing a highly curated version of reality. Your personal history, beliefs, traumas, successes, and experiences colors everything you notice and interpret. If you believe snakes are dangerous, you'll spot snake-like shapes faster than someone who finds snakes fascinating. If you've been betrayed, you'll notice signs of dishonesty more readily than someone who hasn't. Your brain creates these perceptual shortcuts based on what it believes matters most to your survival and success. These shortcuts might have served you once, but now they might be limiting what's possible. These mental shortcuts sometimes deceive us in profound ways. Look at a banana under blue light. It still appears yellow because your brain knows bananas are supposed to be yellow. Your brain literally changes what you see to match what it expects to see. This happens constantly, silently altering your perception of everything from physical objects to complex social situations, all without your conscious knowledge or consent. The remarkable thing is that you can systematically train your brain to notice more, to pierce through these filters and access deeper layers of perception. Elite athletes don't just have faster bodies. They've trained their brains to spot tiny movements that signal direction changes before they happen. A tennis player can tell where a 120 miles per hour serve is going based on barely perceptible shifts in their opponent's shoulder position. Master musicians don't just hear notes. They perceive subtle differences in timbre, attack, and decay that most people completely miss. A violinist can identify the exact emotion the composer intended based on microscopic variations in how a note is played. World-class poker players aren't just calculating odds. They're reading micro-expressions that flash across faces for fractions of seconds, revealing the momentary stress response when someone's bluffing. They've trained themselves to notice what others filter out. Renowned chefs haven't just memorized recipes. They've developed palates that can detect imbalances in seasoning that would be imperceptible to untrained tasters. A pinch of salt, too much or too little, can make all the difference, and they've learned to perceive it. Successful traders don't just understand market mechanics. They've developed pattern recognition abilities that let them identify market anomalies others overlook. They see relationships between seemingly unrelated events because they've trained their perceptual filters differently. Your brain improves at noticing whatever you deliberately, consistently train it to notice. This is the foundation of all mastery, not just accumulating information, but rewiring your perceptual filters to reveal what was always there but hidden from conscious awareness. What you focus on, you quite literally empower. The energy patterns you pay attention to strengthen and become more accessible, while those you ignore fade further into the background of your experience. Think about learning to drive. At first, every action required intense focus: the pedals, the steering wheel, checking mirrors, signaling turns. Now you do most of it automatically, your brain having learned what's important and what can be handled subconsciously. The same process happens with energy work. Initially, you might struggle to perceive subtle energy movements, but with deliberate practice, these sensations become increasingly clear as your brain forms new neural pathways and perceptual shortcuts. This isn't about imagining sensations that aren't there. It's about tuning into what already exists, but has been filtered out by your habitual patterns of attention. It's like adjusting the contrast on a photograph. Suddenly details emerge that were always present in the image but previously indistinguishable. When you start working consistently with energy, you're not developing supernatural powers. You're simply removing the perceptual blinders your brain has constructed through years of conditioned filtering. And here's where things get even more fascinating. These perceptual skills transfer between domains. As you learn to notice subtle energy patterns in one area of your life, you'll find yourself spontaneously perceiving more in other areas. The executive who masters reading the energy of a boardroom becomes more attuned to the emotional needs of their family. The martial artist who develops sensitivity to an opponent's center of gravity finds themselves more aware of imbalances in their own thought patterns. Your matrix of perception isn't fixed. It's fluid, adaptive, and remarkably responsive to intentional training. Every time you practice energy awareness, you're literally rewiring your brain's filtering system, gradually expanding what you allow yourself to perceive and experience. the barriers between conscious and unconscious processing begin to dissolve, creating a more integrated awareness that sees both the forest and the trees simultaneously. The quantum world breaks all familiar rules. Things exist in multiple places simultaneously. Particles connect across space instantly. The act of observation changes what's observed. This isn't theoretical. Quantum mechanics powers modern technology. Your phone's processor relies on quantum effects. GPS satellites need quantum calculations for accuracy. Even photosynthesis uses quantum processes to convert sunlight into energy. One fascinating aspect is how particles become entangled. Affecting one instantly affects the other, regardless of distance. Einstein called this spooky action at a distance. The quantum world isn't limited to tiny particles. Its effects appear in larger things too. Scientists have put visible objects, even living bacteria, into quantum states, blurring the line between quantum and everyday reality. Quantum mechanics questions what we mean by reality. If a particle exists in two places until observed, what does that tell us about existence itself? These questions push us to reconsider what's real and possible. The observer effect is key to understanding both quantum physics and energy work. The act of watching changes what we see. When scientists measure a quantum particle, the measurement itself affects its state, like checking if a room is dark by turning on a light. For energy work, this means your attention isn't just passively observing. It's participating in how energy moves and changes. Your observation creates a connection between you and what you're observing. This isn't bad news, it's a tool. Knowing your attention affects energy makes your practice more precise. When you focus on energy in your hands, you're already beginning to create that sensation. Your expectation helps shape the outcome. The way we typically understand energy is fundamentally flawed. Most think of energy as something flowing from place to place, electricity traveling through wires or heat rising from a stove. These are surface effects of something much deeper. The truth is surprising. Energy doesn't flow anywhere. It's already everywhere simultaneously. What we call energy transfer is actually a chain reaction of energy states changing from one form to another. A power plant doesn't send energy to your home. It creates a disturbance in the omnipresent energy field that ripples through the grid to your light bulb. This isn't semantic hair-splitting, the difference is profound. Once you stop thinking about energy as something moving between places, you see the complete picture. Everything around us is energy in different states. Matter itself is just energy in a dense, stable form. Heat doesn't rise. Energy spreads to reach equilibrium. When your hand nears something hot, you're not feeling heat traveling to your skin. You're experiencing your own energy state changing in response to surrounding air molecules. This applies to all energy forms. Sound isn't moving through air but creating pressure patterns in existing energy. Light isn't streaming from the sun but rippling through the electromagnetic field filling all space. Electricity isn't electrons traveling down wires but energy waves transferring through the surrounding field. Even gravity isn't a pulling force but space-time curvature causing energy to seek balance. This perspective transforms how we work with energy. Instead of pushing energy around, we focus on changing energy states in useful ways, like directing water flow by opening dams rather than carrying buckets. The observer effect makes more sense too. We're not separate observers watching energy. We're part of the same field interacting with itself through our observations. Every measurement, every interaction is simply one part of the energy field affecting another. Your brain is remarkably plastic, it can change and grow. Scientists call this neuroplasticity. Each new experience creates neural pathways that can replace limiting patterns in your energy field. Your comfort zone is a starting point, not a prison. Each step beyond expands it, gradually dissolving the walls between possible and impossible. But beware how your mind tries to rebuild those barriers, dismissing success as luck or labeling challenges as too difficult. Look at children playing. They become pirates, astronauts, or dancers without self-doubt because they haven't learned to limit possibilities. That freedom still exists within you, hidden behind walls of doubt. Your senses filter reality based on expectations. If you believe something impossible, your brain might miss opportunities right before you, like wearing sunglasses indoors and wondering why everything's dark. Breaking free requires practice. Start questioning your automatic no responses. Ask yourself, is this true, or just what I'm accustomed to believing? These perception walls weren't built overnight and won't fall immediately. But each time you question a limitation, try something new, or step beyond comfort, you weaken those walls. Your true limits extend far beyond what your mind suggests. Think of someone who inspired you by doing the impossible. They faced identical mental barriers but chose to push through. The prison guards are your thoughts, patrolling with weapons of doubt, fear, and habit. But you hold the key. This isn't about positive thinking, it's about accurate thinking. See things as they truly are, not as your limited perception presents them. Master energy, master reality.